Greetings, brothers and sisters. So many people are sending me Travis Scott stuff. I really don't know who that is. I mean, I've seen his picture with one of those Kardashian girls on page 6, New York Post stuff. And I've never really heard any of his music, don't know anything about him, and wasn't going to cover this. My wife was talking to me a little bit about this. And, everything that becomes a truther thing. Here it is, Travis Scott Illuminati. This is, breathing fire and stuff on his, sacrificial altar there. I mean, all this kind of stuff. I'm sure it's being covered ad nauseum. And he's just got a lot of demonic stuff here. Here's some artificial intelligence. I'm adding this to the video because so many people have wanted me to say something about this. And there he is, dropping the devil's horns. I mean, it's just, we can see the kind of, person he wants his image to be. Like, this is his brand, a big part of his brand. And apparently some of his lyrics of his music is evil. And, he's incited his fans to do evil stuff in the past. Here's his devil horns. And then we have, this is Travis Scott Devil. There's a lot of, religious imagery and, just all this stuff, burning pyramid, all these types of things here. And so, he's got the, the bathed in red and the red eyes here, all this type of stuff. And so what you get in the truth community is people will say it's a sacrifice or it's fake or whatever, right? Whatever number of, things that truthers come up with, and then they argue about it. And I'm just sort of over all that kind of stuff. Especially something that, when something has, there is, deaths involved, YouTube is pretty strict about how you cover things or whatever it might be. There's that dude. And then there was this Travis Scott and Kanye West, My Devil Op. And then there's, this is Travis Scott Evil, so there's a lot of stuff to do with the red eyes. He likes the red eyes. This is his branding. This is how he wants to be known. And so there he is with Drake. That's always a bad sign. There's some more demonic stuff here. All this, Luciferian and devil worshipping things. He likes the, I guess that's something to do with one of his albums or something, the history of the devil, the idea of evil. He's like into this kind of stuff. And of course he dates or is married to or something, one of these Kardashian witches, right? And they are witches. I mean, in some ways they're not even human anymore. I guess they have kids together or something. At what point when your body becomes like, 10% silicone or 15% silicone, do you cease to become a human, right? And I'm not against plastic surgery, like I said before. If somebody has a birth defect or they have an injury or something like that, accident. I mean, there's real reasons for plastic surgery, but this thing where you look a certain way when you're born and then you transform yourself using cosmetic surgery and you're not even like a real human being anymore. Your soul makes your body some way or another for a reason. There's more devil horns there from this guy. The one thing I want to say about this is when you embrace evil, right? The way evil is characterized in America, because, America is most influenced by Christianity. And so in Christianity, the idea of evil is the devil and hell and these things, right? And these are devil's horns. And everybody knows what this is, whether you're a Christian or not, right? You know what devil's horns are. And when you embrace this type of, this symbolism, and you're putting out devil's horns and doing satanic rituals and torturous stuff, and you're involved in all that kind of stuff, there he goes, embracing evil right there. He's embracing evil right there. Non-human evil. When you have this type of imagery and all this, you are, cultivating evil in the way that we define it in America. And so evil stuff's going to happen around you or to you. Evil's going to be a force because you're inviting it in. You're inviting it on a psychological level and a spiritual level. And so whatever happened there, this stuff has something to do with it, right? No, I was just playing. This is just a brand. I don't really believe this stuff. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that's what his position is. I'm saying that you don't play around with stuff like this. If you embrace divinity, I mean, that's what the heartfulness system is about, is inviting divinity into your heart, God's love, as opposed to all this kind of stuff. And this is what has effect on you. I mean, anybody who, people get obsessed with this stuff in the truth community, and they, they end up like going over the dark side because they get sucked into the abyss of evil and depravity and all these things. It's very easy for someone to, have that happen to them because, it's just they're obsessed with all these things. You can't stop thinking about it. And next thing you know, it's taking over your life, right? You have to do positive things. You got to have positive ways of connecting to God, and you got to be out in nature, and you got to get away. And this is all noise. I mean, I'm sure the music sucks and all those things. And so whatever the real story is, or not the official story, whatever the true story is behind what happened here, this is a big part of it, right? The guy has branded himself as being, some sort of evil, devil-worshipping, evil, dark, negative entity, right? And that's his brand, just like so many heavy metal bands and things. And when you embrace that stuff, it ends up manifesting in your life, right? You're creating it inside of you. And your fans and everybody who's there, you're a part of some, evil ritual, and, you're bringing this like negativity into your lives. And collectively at a concert, you're just, like channeling demonic energy through large amounts of people. And like I said, I didn't want to do a video on this really. I didn't want to do a long video, do a lot of research and all these things. I'm just doing too many other things. And, I didn't want to dive into it. But I knew as soon as I searched these terms what I was going to see, right? Like, I made enough of these videos and know enough about pop music and, rock music and rap music and all these things that this is what you're going to see. You're always going to find stuff like this. And celebrities. If you search Illuminati and celebrities, you're going to find something. I mean, they just embrace all these things, devil worshiping symbolism. There's always going to be something, and I knew with this guy there was going to be a lot. And it's just predictable. So whatever reason this thing happened and whatever, it was part of a plan. I mean, it's always part of God's plan and, maybe some nefarious human plan as well, right? God's plan is always there, and then there's the human plan also. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. But whatever reason this is being married together, right? The, event that just happened and his brand of being some sort of Illuminati, devil-worshipping, torturous, evil MNFer, it's not an accident. It's purposeful. Whoever's responsible for this, it's purposeful. Okay, so I just thought I'd add that at the beginning of this video. Let me go to the video I already made. Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I made a video yesterday. I got a bunch of other stuff to get to, but I made a video yesterday, and I can see I read one comment, and I assume I didn't get to read all the comments. I just read a few of the comments to the video yesterday, and I haven't got to the comments this morning. But I just assume there's a lot of butthurt Trump supporters, because I said, you guys act the same way towards Trump, the denial of Trump, the way you look at the Biden people and you're like, oh my God, Biden, how can the Biden people not see this, right? And so I just wanted to show you this. This is Trump at the Wailing Wall in Israel, wearing a yarmulke, right? There's Mike Pence is there too. This is his daughter, Ivanka. There's his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They're all bowing before the Wailing Wall in Israel. And my wife had just sent me this the other day. DeSantis, everyone's like, oh, DeSantis is the new Trump. And yeah, he is. He's the new Trump. Here he is at the Wailing Wall in Israel. Because anybody who wants to run for president has to bow before the powers that be. And Israel is one of them. It's not the only one, right? So there's people watching this video and they'll immediately think Israel, the Zionists, the Jews are responsible for everything. They control everything. That's what some people in the truth community believe. But there's multiple power players, right? Here's Jill Biden. When you search for Joe Biden, you get Jill Biden. She went to the Wailing Wall. But I guess she's the one wearing the pants of the Biden family because JoJo's got the pens. Here we go with Obama, like he was in front of the Wailing Wall and all wearing yarmulkes, right? They go in there and they wear yarmulkes. Bill Clinton, did it. It's just something that all these politicians have to do. It's one of the things. It's one of the powers. Mitt Romney, of course, he ran against Obama, and so he's reaching for the stars here. McCain, he ran for presidency. He was here with Joe Lieberman. They're pals. There's his daughter for some reason, right? She's wailing. She's doing her own wailing. Here are the Bushes, George W. and his father. Both his father here is kissing the Wailing Wall years ago. And they got Clinton here, so I don't even have to search for her. She's gone there and did the do, right? There's Trump and Obama. And so there's Hillary again. And so this is something they all have to do. They're bowing before it. Just something interesting. Master Chargy went to Israel, and he visited pretty much every country around the world. There's some people doing the heartfulness meditation there. And they wanted him to go to the Wailing Wall, and he went there and he said, yeah, there's no spiritual energy here. There's no, there's no divine energy. I mean, I don't know exactly what the quote was, but it was basically that. There's Ivanka doing it as well, right? I'm saying this because, there are powers that be. And all these people are, to get into the club, they have to bow before one or all of these various power structures. Israel is one of them, right? China, all these various influencers in the world. And they're all part of the club. And, and you're not, right? It's just that simple. Okay, so there's been some other developments with Will Smith. Will Smith talks to Oprah Winfrey about whether or not he and Jada Pinkett Smith have an open marriage. And then Will Smith talks spectacular sex, unconventional marriage to Jada Pinkett Smith. Will Smith continued to open up about his personal life in promotion of his upcoming autobiography, Will. Recalling the days of his courtship with wife Jada Pinkett Smith and the spectacular sex that came with it. We drank every day. We had sex multiple times every day for 4 straight months. I started to wonder if it was a competition. Either way, as far as I was concerned, there were only 2 possibilities. I was going to satisfy this woman sexually. I was going to die trying. And so when's the part about him coming out, right? Like, he opens up about their open marriage and things he said before. But there is supposed to be a big, he's supposed to be getting rid of the Will Smith false brand here. And so with that, he has to come out. Like, it's just, everyone pretty much knows already. There's zero chance of any real backlash, right? And, at this point, I mean, there's no reason for him not to, And so, he's just, he's always been sort of fraudulent, but just come out already. So I got a bunch of CNN stuff to get to, but these guys now think they're comedians. This guy's always trying to make jokes, and he's just not funny. He's somber. Him and Jake Tappas are like both so somber. They're having a somber off. They're just so ghoulish, and then they're trying to crack jokes that failed desperately.
Peaceful transfer of power at the Capitol this past week? No, not in Washington. I'm talking about the Capitol 109 miles away in Richmond, Virginia.
I just so appreciate your willingness to be so helpful as we head towards.
Wow, they're doing a good job here of having transfer of power. I wonder who did a bad job. Like, who are they contrasting this with?
By the way, that's a smaller margin of victory than Joe Biden's win over Donald Trump. And we all saw what happened in January at the Capitol in Washington. But
What happened in January at the Capitol? This past January. Was it like the 5th or 6th or something like that? What day was it? What happened? I forgot. You guys don't talk about it enough. Like, when you guys start, talking about January 5th or 6th, I mean, I don't even remember the day. You guys are, I don't even really watch CNN, and I only hear you talking about this, like, I don't know, like every day for the past 7 or 8 months, whatever it is, been since then. So, I mean, you guys got to talk about it more. Come on, buddy. You guys got to, keep on reminding us of that tragic day in January and what happened at the Capitol and who was at fault.
It wasn't just Newt sounding the Stop the Steal alarm bells in Virginia. Tucker Carlson, who just released a tinfoil hat documentary on January 6th, was
Tinfoil hat from Tucker Carlson. He's got tinfoil hats.
Was also suggesting that the fix was in.
There has been a hitch
Apparently, Tucker just got out of the shower.
in the highly anticipated count in the Virginia governor's race.
Just kidding or asking questions. If you adjust your tinfoil hat just right, he sounds very sincere.
Yeah, you guys wearing your tinfoil hats. You guys got to adjust your hats because that's how tinfoil hats work. This guy's he's so funny, but he's also a tough guy. Don't just think because he's got jokes that he's not tough, because this guy's plenty tough. Just because he looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy and he's soft and weak and pathetic looking and he's got those sad eyes that looks like he's just always about to cry, doesn't mean he's not a tough guy. This guy's a tough guy. Let me show you how tough he is.
But the usual bad faith actors on Fox were just amplifying the far more volatile rhetoric in other corners of right-wing media in the days leading up to the election.
These are all the tinfoil hat wearers.
They got to get out of the watching mode. They got to get to the fighting mode. They got to get sharp elbows because otherwise
this guy, you need the sharp elbows. This is where he gets tough and also has jokes. He does both things. He's funny and tough, this guy. This somber MNF-er, right? These two ghouls, him and Jake Tapper, always having a ghoul off with their somberness, and they just suck the energy out of you.
But the Democrats didn't steal it in Virginia. They lost, and then they conceded. Terry McAuliffe
They lost and conceded. They didn't do what Trump did.
released a statement congratulating Youngkin on his victory. He didn't act like a sore loser. He didn't incite an insurrection.
Sore loser. He's a sore loser. Remember Don Lemon says he's a sore loser.
Act like a sore loser. He didn't incite an insurrection. Youngkin, who appealed to Trump supporters by calling for election audits in Virginia before his victory, gladly accepted McAuliffe's concession. And now the peaceful transfer of power in Richmond is well underway. There was no
This is how the Democrats do it. You stealers, stop the stealers.
riot in Richmond, thank goodness, right? As a Virginia kid, I was pretty happy about that. But where would we be if Youngkin had lost? It's hard to say. Maybe it would have been just fine. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
By the way, in New Jersey, the Democratic incumbent governor, Phil Murphy, won by about the same margin as Youngkin did in Virginia. Last time we checked, Murphy's challenger, Republican Jack Ciattarelli, has yet to concede.
See, Republicans don't concede, and Democrats do. It's just that simple. Democrats are conceders, and Republicans aren't.
Our democracy is in big trouble if only one of our two major political parties accepts the election results when they win. The pundits in Washington have been furiously slicing and dicing last week's election results in search of some larger meaning behind Youngkin's victory. The one lesson that sticks with me is that our system of government, while far from perfect, worked pretty well last week, despite what happened back in January.
What January? You only mentioned that 3 times during this piece. The one time I didn't show you. So I mean, you got to talk more about January.
Perhaps some in the MAGA movement and on Fox can now have a little more faith in their fellow Americans and in our democracy. There's been a lot of complaining about wokeness this past week.
Wokeness. Don't these guys all complain about the woke?
I've been more worried about repairing the brokenness of our republic.
The brokenness, exactly. Look at this broken MNF-er. This sad sack broken MNF-er.
Enough with this stop the steal nonsense. If you win, great. If you lose, move on. Please. No more whining. No more sore losers. No more lies. Just stop the squeal.
Oh, that was his big line. He waited till the end to get
Squeal.
it.
No more whining. No more sore losers. No more lies. Just stop the squeal.
He just said it. He waited till the end. He gave us that one more line. Stop the squeal. Stop the squealing. You know, is this from Deliverance? Are you saying the Democrats are deliverancing Donald Trump and his supporters? And so, you know, he thinks he's funny now. And he's a tough guy. Stop whining. Stop your whining. Why don't you say that to Hillary and, you know, all of you when you whine for 4 years about Trump? Like, stop squealing, right? And I don't know. Speaking of squealing, here's Brianna Squealer, and she's got something to say.
Southwest Airlines is launching an internal investigation after a pilot reportedly signed off a message to passengers by saying, "Let's go, Brandon." Now, that is a phrase that has become conservative code for swearing at President Biden. It actually
Conservative code. I think there's a lot more than just conservatives that are into the "Let's go, Brandon" thing.
means F Joe Biden.
It means F Joe Biden for you guys who are in on the code.
It's Pete Muntean with us here on this. What's going on?
Well, what's so interesting here, Brianna, is that these commercial flights have really become this political flashpoint. We've seen these fights on board in huge numbers by passengers. In this instance, it's a Southwest Airlines pilot who has used the public address system to sow political discord. It's typically used to calm down passengers. He said this phrase, "Let's go, Brandon." It means F Joe Biden. This was reported
Exactly. You got to say that over and over again. F Joe Biden.
by an Associated Press reporter who was on this flight from Houston to Albuquerque on Friday.
On Friday.
On Friday.
On Friday.
On Friday. And now Southwest is acknowledging this incident, and it says in a statement, Southwest does not condone employees sharing their political opinions while on the job. Southwest is conducting an internal investigation into the recently reported event and will address the situation directly with any employee involved.
Exactly. Southwest has got to tamp this thing down. It could explode.
It says, while continuing to remind all employees that public expression of political opinions while on duty is not acceptable. Now, this is not the only incident like this, just ones that passengers have heard. The United Airlines Pilot Union sent a memo to all of its pilots just last week saying to not use the emergency frequency that pilots use, typically not for screwing around, to say this "Let's go, Brandon."
These pilots in their "Let's go, Brandon," they're violating emergency procedures, and this is where they first discovered it on CNN.
But who knows with the court?
Let's check out something that we saw on the House floor, which is a Republican member of Congress wearing a mask that says, "Let's go, Brandon." This is South Carolina Congressman Jeff Duncan. And for the uninitiated, this stems from
You got to be initiated to understand the "Let's go, Brandon."
a crowd at a NASCAR race yelling F Joe Biden, but it was during the speech of the winner, Brandon Brown, and a commentator thought that the crowd was saying, "Let's go, Brandon." So this is really just a substitute for F Joe Biden. And you have a member of the House wearing this.
She's actually kind of laughing about this, right? She never smiles. She's always depressed. He's trying to be serious about it. I got something more on him later on for my other channel. But, look, they got their little fancy CNN mug here.
On the floor.
I think it's a natural evolution from where we've been going over most of this past year, which has been basically, whatever comedy that the Biden folks hoped was going to be there in Congress.
Jeez, do they get anybody who isn't depressed on this network?
Hoping that the fever, quote unquote, as they put it, was going to break after Trump was not going to break. That Trump has these diehard supporters, and there are people who, frankly.
All right. So that's how they're covering this. Joe Biden just keeps on lying to the American people. The New York Post is going through this, $450,000 compensation. President Biden appears to be suffering from a bad case of malarkey syndrome. A textbook example was presented last week when he was asked about his administration's proposal of $450,000 compensation per use to illegal migrant families that were separated under the Trump administration. He said it was garbage, and then he's come out and said that they deserve some kind of compensation. And so because of the tragedy they suffered for entering the country without going through the proper legal procedures to immigrate into America. Chris Rock won't engage his haters on his white kids getting shot joke. He
Hey, people are taking one of your jokes about white kids being shot as untimely. Hey, are people being too sensitive?
He's getting up the escalator. Doesn't want to answer that question because he said this.
That's right. I mean, honestly, I want to live in a world with real equality. I want to live in a world where an equal amount of white kids are shot every month.
You got to dream, right? You got to dream about something. Like, I mean, it's a little...
Equal world. I want to see white mothers on TV crying.
So, we know about this guy being a vaccine shill from my other YouTube channel. I talked about that yesterday. So this is Chris Rock failing at his job of being funny. He's trying to be edgy and talk truth to power, but he can't do that after, the way that he, what he said about the V, right? And so, like he went full shill, and when you're, bashing the anti-vax people, and so when you do that, you are, you're not talking truth to power anymore. Hilaria Baldwin checking in with fans amid Alec Baldwin Rust incident. So you go to her Instagram page, and here we'll start from the beginning. And it says here, checking in and sharing a few moments being together. I know you worry. We love you and miss you. She means to all of her kids licking the other kid's head there. It's all about the babies. Look out. Your dad's doesn't really respect gun safety rules. Duck, kids. Alec is coming into the room. There's a kitty. Oh, look, all these fun things. This is them. They're at some kind of petting zoo, and this kid's giving you the peace sign. This kid knows. This kid gets it.
I'm not prepared for this.
Incoming! T-minus 3, 2, 1. Go for ignition.
It's, they do this now at the beginning of trailers because people's attention spans are so bad they can't sit through a trailer, even though the trailer tells you pretty much. It's like watching a Crib Notes version of the movie now. They have to show you some explosive stuff that happens in the beginning so that you'll stay tuned for the whole trailer. Like, that's how sad it's gotten. The trailer starts now. That was a trailer to the trailer.
July 20th, 1969.
It's one small step for man.
Going back to the moon landing.
One giant leap for mankind.
In school, you were taught that Apollo 11 lost contact with the world for 2 minutes.
Boom. For 2 minutes, it lost contact.
Not true.
It's not true. Something about the moon landing is not true.
They found something on that day.
Something foreboding. You can tell by the music. It's foreboding.
That they kept hidden for 50 years.
50 years. They're finally putting out the secrets about the moon landing. They found something in Arizona on that day.
And now, it's too late to stop.
No, it's too late to stop. If they just told us the truth right off the bat. Look, there's some sort of nefarious entity. They lied to us about the moon.
Of the entire West Coast.
Moving time.
Boom, the West Coast is getting apocalypsed.
Stay awake, my
There's civil unrest. Here, look at this guy. He just said it right here.
Stay awake, my brothers and sisters.
Stay awake, my brothers and sisters. That's supposed to be me.
Brothers and sisters, stay awake.
I guess that's their version of me.
This planet has suffered 5 extinctions.
5 extinctions this planet. They're finally coming out with it.
This is going to be the 6th.
This is the number 6. The 6th extinction. Nice round number.
No, we are just inside the moon.
That might be the greatest sentence anyone's ever said.
It might be the greatest sentence. You know what's the second greatest sentence? One giant step for man. One small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. They're both associated with the moon. It's crazy. And so the reason why I'm covering this is one of the theories out there. Our moon is, I think, the only moon. First of all, the moon is 1/4 the size of Earth. And so it's a giant moon compared to the size of Earth. And we only see one face. The moon is always facing us, doesn't rotate, right? And so there has been this narrative out there that the moon is not an organic object. It's like the Death Star in Star Wars movies. That it is something that's mechanical in nature, like some sort of spaceship, and it was put here to bring energy, because the moon produces so much energy. The tides and its gravitational pull on the Earth produces a lot of energy and chaos that wouldn't be there otherwise. Like the oceans wouldn't have any waves if there wasn't for the moon, right? There wouldn't be tides and things like that. It's the gravitational pull of the moon that affects all these things. And so there's been some speculation that this is not an organic object, but it's been put there by higher developed beings. And now this has been made into a movie. So not to be outdone, Apple TV and Tom Hanks have their own revelation here.
Do you think we'll make it?
Not without my team. We do
He's not going to make it without his team. They're doing the same thing. This is the pre-trailer.
this together.
That's the pre-trailer. They're going to do it together, him and his team. They're trying to rehabilitate Tom Hanks' good guy image. Listen to the music here.
It all happened so fast.
It all happened so fast. There was a tornado, a twista.
There was a solar flare.
It was a solar flare.
Goodbye crops and food. Goodbye everything.
Goodbye crops and food, and everything went away. Just like that, when the solar flare. Now, this is something that has been hinted at in other movies, The Road and the Book of Eli, right? And there's this theory out there, this prediction. There's a guy named Matt Stein who is an MIT guy, a scientific guy. And the idea here is that when the poles reverse themselves, when north becomes south and south becomes north, and you'll be able to see it when that happens, because the aurora borealis will be seen by everybody. The northern lights will be seen, in Florida, right? Something that is just associated with the North Pole, Canada, and Alaska, and the South Pole in these places. And so when you start to see that, that means the poles are going to shift, and this is something that's talked about in Whispers in the Brighter World, that there's going to be a pole shift. And when that happens, the magnetic field goes down, and solar flares can hit the world, right? And if they do that, they can wipe out the electrical grid because it's like an EMP. And that means, lots of bad things. This guy talked about, it's called like 100 Chernobyls or something, that all the nuclear power plants only have a week's worth of electricity to keep them from overheating, from going, China syndrome. And so when that happens, then, there's bad things when the electrical grid goes down, obviously. So these are two theories that have been out there for a while, and now they're, that I've known about, and they've been in movies. So Tom Hanks, notice the nice music. He's got a dog.
What shall we have?
Dog likes him. It's a cute dog. He likes Tom Hanks. He must be a good guy. Can't believe the bad things you've heard about him, because the dog likes him. Listen to the nice peppy music and this upbeat music. This is a good man right here.
Get your elbows off the table. Get your elbows off the table.
Exactly. He just nicely chastises the dog.
All right, you're next.
He's got to brush the dog's teeth. Look, it's a feel-good movie.
Now, if you can speak, tell me something How about you?
That robots must protect dog.
He built a robot. It's kind of like Wilson, but Wilson this time the Wilson talks back, and there's a dog too. It's like, it's the great movie of the, what was it, Shipwreck? What was it called? I don't know. Who cares? Don't tell me. Don't care. Don't need to know.
If we don't go before that storm hits, we'll die, all of us.
Okay, there's going to be a storm coming, and they got to move because he knows about the storm. All of us.
As soon as you can walk, we're leaving.
As soon as that he built a robot.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
That's falling.
That's funny. That robot's funny. Tom Hanks is also funny, but not as funny as the robot.
2.
Head west, over the mountains.
Would you like me to drive?
Don't oversteer. That's oversteering.
Sorry.
Ease your foot
He's oversteering.
up just a hair. Perfect.
It's funny. That robot's a good driver.
Hey, what's all the fuss?
I learned to talk dog. I don't think it likes me.
Oh, that robot is funny. I didn't think that robot was going to be that funny.
Come and see this.
Tie the RV down. Hang on to
Oh, that robot's strong.
We should be safe once
It says help us right here. They built it in garbage.
UV radiation.
Oh, trying to UV radiation because there's no, the whole solar flare thing.
And people.
Gotta watch out for people. Tom Hanks knows.
We'll make it.
Not without my team.
He needs his team.
What we do together.
Yeah, it's a feel-good movie. Tom Hanks. Thomas J. Hanks. So what this is all about, most of these items, most of these stories have in common is that people need someone to follow, like a hero, and it could be an entity, like like an organization. It could be like America, could be God, it could be, a person, and they also need a villain. See, because of movies, the way movies have, and TV shows and, modern day media has shaped everyone's consciousness, there's a protagonist and an antagonist. And that's the way everybody has to conceptualize their life. There has to be a savior, a hero that can win the day. And everyone, they should. It's not always the case that you're a protagonist in your own story. But there are people who aren't, they have so low self-esteem that they aren't even a protagonist. They're an extra in their own life, right? I've talked about that before. But people need someone to blame, right? Chris Rock, he wants to blame the white people and the anti-vaxxers, like that's an example. And then you have, CNN wants to blame Trump and Trump supporters. And then people on the right and, truth community want to blame Joe Biden and the controllers or, the Zionists and, whatever you need to conceptualize the world where there's a villain and then there's a hero and the hero's going to win in the end. This is the whole thing that made the Q movement work, right? The Q stuff is that on steroids where they villainize the deep state and then JFK Jr. and Trump and Q are going to rescue the day, right? And people need that. They need to have this idea that there's a hero and a villain. And you're going to be one or the other. So people come to my YouTube channel, and I'm a hero for a while, and then I'm a villain, right? Because they have to be in one of those two categories. Aaron Rodgers is a hero to people who don't want the vax or people on the right wing. It's all politicized. And then he's a villain to the mainstream media and all, sports reporters, all these other people that are shilling for the beast, right? The medicine is it's rescuing some people and it's poison. It's, an elixir from God, some miracle drug for some people, and it's poison to other people, right? Everyone has to conceptualize, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is bad, this is good, right? That's how this is a villain, this is a hero. This is how people have to conceptualize their understanding of our system. But it's completely wrong. It's not bad or good. Our system collectively is anti-God and anti-nature, but there are some good things in it, right? There's some things that make us happy, like TV can be enjoyable. You can watch something good. It can change your mood, or it can just indoctrinate you, right? It's mostly bad, but there's some good in it, right? There's some God in everything. And so, it can be a vehicle for you. Like the internet is just an absolute mess, but there's been, I've had wonderful experiences on the internet, and I've learned a lot, and, YouTube particularly, but the whole internet. And so, anything can be used for good or bad. The internet is a power. Power can be corrupted. Power can be divinized, right? Depending on what you use it for, the purity of your intention, and all of these things. And this is something for everyone to really understand. Our system is mostly bad, but there are some good things in it, and we're 100% dependent on it. We're all contributing to creating and strengthening and keeping the system going, even though it's bad. And, it's collapsing would be good and also bad, right? It would be good spiritually, and it would be truth, it would be righteous, but it would be bad in terms of, how bad it would suck on a material level. And so it's never just one or the other. Like everything is a mix. There's the energy in the heartfulness system, the transmission, which is pure love, pure God. So that's something there's no bad in that, right? God's love, there's nothing bad in that. And yet, you can be fortified that love can nurture things inside of you that's bad, right? The love can, it's like you're fertilizing a garden, and the fertilizer is also making the weeds stronger. And so weeds aren't really undesirable, but we think about them that way. I've used this metaphor before. But in terms of, evil, when you receive transmission, if there's no cleaning in the heartfulness system, these bad tendencies get strengthened as well. So there needs to be purification. But like all these finger pointing, and everyone's like, oh, he's so evil, I don't get into it. Like there's just things that are distasteful to me. I mean, there's things on the news and some of the political stuff. I mean, it's really bad. It's really dark and really just, and so, bad in a way that it's so remedial. Like, so, that Sesame Street thing I covered yesterday, just, targeting that at kids. And it's just like really hard to watch. There's a lot of just gross things, really gross things in our system right now. And so, yeah, that exists, but why focus on that, right? Like the thing that everyone needs to do is find out what your purpose is, what you're supposed to do. What's your top end? What's you at your best, right? What's you being the best possible version of yourself? And what qualities has God given to you? What gifts have God given to you to help out with this dysfunctional situation? And how do you use those gifts to benefit yourself and everybody else, right? Humanity, and, do your service to the system. Do what God wants you to do. That's what everyone has to figure out. All this other stuff is just a distraction. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano. Definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.